Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to tonight's session. I hope that you all are doing well. And tonight's 30-minute growth session is going to require you to do some work. So I want to give you a few seconds to take out some paper, a notepad, because tonight is all about you taking some time to reflect on where you are and where you want to be. Now, I don't know about you, but I've spent a lot of years focusing on the growth of other individuals. And I have to say, the last couple of years, I am focusing on me. I believe that where you are today is not where you should be 6 months from now, a year from now. I think we have gotten so accustomed to this microwave way of living that we forget that successes come with hard work. All right, so if you have your paper and pencil out, I want you to type me in the chat. I want to make sure that everyone has their paper, their pen, because we're going to use a technique that is called a SWOT analysis. And by definition, a SWOT analysis is something that we do in business. It's part of the strategic planning process. So if you've got your paper and your pen, go ahead and type me, or you can take out the notepad on your phone. But we're going to be delving into individual SWOT analysis. You know how at the beginning of the year, everybody has these New Year's resolutions about they're going to lose weight, they're going to do all the things, right? Now is the time to strategically make plans that help you. I was this past Tuesday on campus teaching a graduate course in healthcare administration. And the course focuses on what does it focus on? Strategic planning for healthcare administration. And so we talked about SWOT analysis from the perspective of the organization creating a strategic plan. In fact, what my students have to do at the end of the 16 weeks is that they have to create a strategic plan for a hospital system. And so we've started that process with the SWOT analysis. And so when we were going through these concepts on yesterday, I said to them, "Do you guys realize you can do this on yourself, an individual SWOT analysis?" And they all started shaking their heads like, "Yeah, I can definitely see the benefit." So, SWOT analysis can help you identify areas for improvement. It also helps you capitalize on those strengths, the things that you're really good in. It will also help you prepare for the things that happen outside of your control, and those are known as our external factors. So, SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, are further broken down into those internal factors and then the external factors. So, I see a couple of people have their paper and pens. And so we are going to dig in to your individual SWOT analysis. So we're going to start with the strengths. Analyzing your strengths can really help you leverage them to your advantage. And I think sometimes some of us, we really don't capitalize, we don't leverage our strengths because we're dealing with imposter syndrome, meaning that we think we are fake, we think we are a fraud. And so I want you to go through with me a series of 3 questions where I'm going to have you write down your strengths. So let's begin. So the very first question is, what are 3 skills or talents that set you apart from others? Now, the questions are appearing at the bottom of the screen. I wanted to make sure that I had them there because I'm only going to read them once. And so, for those that are perhaps coming in later, you'll see them at the bottom of the screen. So, take a few minutes and think about, what are 3 skills or talents that set you apart? This is where you, as an individual, excel. So let me give you about a minute to write those down. And one of the reasons that I wanted you to have some paper is because I want you at the end of this 30 minutes to really sit down and reflect on where you are and where you want to be. All right, so that was question number 1. What are your 3 strengths or talents that set you apart from others? These are the areas that you excel. All right, we're going to go to our next question. So, our next question I want you to reflect on is, think about a recent achievement that you're really proud of. And I want you to think about, based on that achievement, what strengths that you have contribute to that achievement. So, what's the achievement? And then really think about, you're proud of the achievement. What strengths do you have that contributed to that achievement? And if you are not ashamed, put your achievement in the chat. Put your achievement in the chat, right? It could be a promotion. It could be that you established a new relationship. But what is something that you are proud of? We're going to connect it to what you are strong in. And so, for those of you who are just joining, we are doing a individual strategic planning session where you're working on evaluating you. Our title for today is Discovering and Leveraging Your Strengths. All right, we are going to move on from that second strength question and our last strength question. This one is a little longer. What personal resources do you have at your disposal, like a strong network or a specific knowledge that can be considered a strength? And I see that someone has popped in the chat and someone said that they completed their medical billing and coding program. Awesome sauce. That is a huge accomplishment. All right. So we are talking about our strengths right now, and we are on question number 3. What personal resources do you have at your disposal, like a strong network or specific knowledge that can be considered a strength? And I want you to really think about this because where you are today is not where you want to be 6 months from now. All right. And here's the thing, guys. If you haven't accomplished anything in a while, this individual SWOT analysis is like perfect for you because it's going to allow you to sit down and think about, okay, what am I strong in? But what are those areas that I'm weak in? What are my opportunities? And then when we get to the threats, you'll really see how it all ties together. All right, guys. So we are done with the strengths, and now we're going to move on to the weaknesses. And your first weakness is, can you identify areas where you think you can improve or develop further? Areas where you can develop or improve. Develop or improve. I know one of my personal weaknesses is that I want more for others than they want for themselves. And I say that because for the last 25 years, have taught as an adjunct professor at a variety of schools. And I found that oftentimes I want more for my students than they want for themselves. And it makes me frustrated because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm showing up, but they're not showing up. So that's a weakness of mine because I oftentimes am pushing and pushing and pushing. All right. So, for those of you who are just joining, we are doing an individual SWOT analysis on ourselves. Today's presentation is titled Unlocking Your Potential, Discovering and Leveraging Your Strengths. And for purposes of today's topic, we are doing individual SWOT analysis on ourselves. So you should take out a piece of paper and write down answers to the questions. All right, we are going to go to our next weakness question. All right. So our next weakness question is, can you identify any personal habits? Hmm. Personal habits that might be hindering your growth or progress. Personal habits that might be hindering your growth or your progress. I'm interested in seeing this. Let me see those in the chat. If you're not afraid, type those in the chat. You know, the first step in moving forward is acknowledgement, right? So if there are some areas, and let me look at my notes again. Are there any specific habits that you might have that are hindering you? That are hindering you. And let's see what we can get going on here in the chat. All right. So, someone said they have a hard time focusing on important things that they want to accomplish. And I have to be honest, I sometimes suffer from what is known as decision fatigue. Okay. I suffer from what is known as decision fatigue. And I want to thank you guys just for being honest. I think that oftentimes we feel that we are, alone and we're embarrassed. And so I want you to just know you are not alone, okay? You are not alone. All right, so let's get back to our questions because I don't want to run out of time. So, our third weakness area is what personal, and let me just make sure because I don't have my glasses. Let me just make sure. So, that was the question I just went through. So, let me go back one just to make sure. Are there any specific feedback or criticisms that you've received to the point that they reflect that weakness? So, are there any specific feedback or criticisms that you have received? I will tell you, when I was a kid in elementary school, I got one of those here in Chicago on the report card. They would do these little check marks, and it was on the back of the report card. And I got a check mark for talks too much. And, here I am 50 years later, still talking, but it definitely has served me well. And so I want to make sure, and I dropped my paper, so let me just grab it. I want to make sure that we captured all three of the weaknesses questions because I want you to put them all together. So let's go back to the first one just to make sure we got them. So the first one was, can you identify some areas where you think you could improve? That was the first question. Okay. The second question was, are there any specific feedbacks or criticisms that you have received that can point to a potential weakness? And then I think I reversed them, but here's the third question. I don't have my producer here with me today. I've been giving my producer some time to not be in the Growth Motivator studio. So I'm kind of doing it all by myself, but I think I'm doing pretty good, actually. All right. So, last question is, can you identify personal habits? Did you receive any specific feedback? All right. So, for those of you who are just joining, we are doing an individual SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis is used in the business world for purposes of strategic planning. And I want you to think about it. If businesses are strategically planning for the future, why can't we? How many of you are saying to yourself, September 20th, 2024, I don't want to be in the same place? If that's you, I want you to type me in the chat. If that's you, I want you to type me in the chat. I'm not going to be where I am today a year from now. I don't know about you. There have been times in my life where I'm just like, I can't do it. I'm afraid, right? But then I have to pick myself back up and say, listen, 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 listen. I am worthy of doing something more. I think situations can really make you feel like you don't deserve all the things that you're trying to get. And I'm here to tell you, in anything that you do, there are going to be ups, there are going to be downs. I will tell you, as a business owner, there are days, weeks, months where I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to pay my rent for my office? Because as a business owner, you don't have income coming in, you still have to pay your bills. It's kind of like being at home, right? You still got to pay your bills. All right, so we are going to go back because I don't want to run out of time. And so now we did our strengths, we did our weaknesses, and now we're going to do opportunities. And so the first opportunity, what opportunities are within reach, right? What opportunities are within your reach right now that you can capitalize on? What are they? Sometimes they're like sitting right in front of your face, and you're like, whoa, I didn't even know that, right? So, what are those things, those opportunities that are right in your face? All right, we're going to go to our next opportunity question. And this question is: are there any trends or developments in your field or industry that might present new opportunities for you? So, one of the things that I've always done is realize that today is over. I'm not going back. You must ensure that you're looking at the future. For example, artificial intelligence. What impact will artificial intelligence have in your daily life and your personal life for the future? It's not going anywhere. And if you don't take the time to think about how you can leverage it, you are going to be left behind. All right, we're going to go to our last one for opportunities. And again, this is our 30-minute growth moments. And so we must stay in that 30-minute time frame. All right, the last question is: how can you employ your strengths to grab on to those opportunities? How can you employ your strengths to grab on to those opportunities? You know, sometimes people in your life can make you feel like you're not worthy. People who you interact with on a day to day basis, they can make you feel like you don't deserve the things that you do. If you believe that, I want you to type in the chat, I choose me. I want you to type in the chat, I choose me. I said at the beginning of today's session that I've spent a lot of time helping others grow, that it has prevented me from going where I should be. But I don't regret it, right? Because I believe that everything that you do in terms of helping others, it definitely sets you up for success. But me personally, I am taking myself to the next level because I choose me. There is a coach who I interviewed. Her name is Coach LaShawn. And Coach LaShawn's coaching service is all about choosing yourself. I choose me. All right, guys, we are rolling through these. So now we're going to look at threats. And I don't know if you've noticed, but for each area of the SWOT analysis, there were three questions that I asked you. Now, we could go deeper into this process, but we only got 30 minutes. So let's keep going. All right. So, can you pinpoint any external factors or challenges that could potentially threaten your progress or success? Could potentially threaten your progress or success. Now you see I'm here without the producer, so I probably have these mixed up, but good thing I'm reading them to you. Might have to get the producer back. Gave him a break. I think the break is over. All right. Let's go on to our next one. Are there any emerging developments or trends that might pose a threat to your path? Anything that's new and exciting out there that could impact your future? I think oftentimes we're so focused on what is in front of us that we don't think about what's ahead of us. And I don't know about you, I've been working hard for the last 50 years, and I owe me to continue reaching to the moon. I owe me to continue reaching to the moon. All right, and we're going to go to our last threat. And for the last threat, how might your weaknesses exacerbate your potential threats? And what can you do about them? So the areas that you're weak in, how can they exacerbate? What does that word exacerbate mean? Make it worse. So, like, I'm an asthmatic, and when my asthma is exacerbated, it's worse, right? So, right now, I'm stable, I'm not having any problems. But a weakness could be is if I'm in an environment where the air quality is not good, it can exacerbate my asthma. So, what do? I know my triggers and I try to make sure that I stay clear of those things. All right, guys. So we have made it to that last question. And so now you got to pull it all together. And pulling it all together is jot down one or two actionable steps that you can do in the near future to foster the growth. So I'm going to open up the chat. I'll read the question one more time. So we're coming to our end because this is only 30 minutes. And what actionable steps can you undertake in the future to help with the growth? I want to see those pop in the chat because you can write down a plan all you want to. If you don't execute that plan, you probably are going nowhere fast. Anybody that knows me will tell you that I am always writing down this list of things to do. And every day, several times a day, I'm looking at my list. I'm crossing out things that I've accomplished, and I am aggressively working towards completing those items. And I'm going to tell you about me. When I cross off something from my list, I pat myself on the back. I don't even need anybody to pat me on the back. I feel that sense of accomplishment because it was a goal that I set and then I knock it out the park. Now, this morning, there was a goal that I had planned to accomplish today, two of them that I did not fully achieve. That's okay because I made progress towards getting them done, and tomorrow I will have executed them. And so I want to end by saying to you that life is going to happen, right? Life is going to life. And when I think about the price of food, the price of gas, just the price of everything, life is going to life. But the longer I live, the more I realize the impact that attitude has on life. That was a quote that my Aunt Phyllis told me when I was younger. It was by Charles Swindoll. Look him up. Attitude is, you know, basically the key. That positive attitude, that I can do it attitude, is one of your keys to success. All right, we're going to look in the chat to see if anything else is coming through. And if not, we are going to be ending for tonight. Please be sure to like, subscribe our YouTube channel, which is thegrowthmotivator.com, or you can follow me on all social media platforms at Dr. Lisa L. Campbell. So I believe in me. Having a positive attitude, believing in myself is critical. I choose me. You have to tell yourself over and over and over again, I choose me. Well, guys, it has been a pleasure hanging out with you all tonight for our 30-minute growth session, where today, September 20th, we focused on unlocking your potential, discovering, and leveraging your strengths. All right. I will see you guys next time. Have a great evening.